Hello everybody, Gerone Wright here, and this is a second video that I'm releasing. The first video that I released was with regards to my finding with Roswell, stating that that the object that is was found was actually a time capsule. In 1940, found by the United States Air Force, was a time capsule or a time machine, which was actually sent out the way NASA is doing now, sending deep space probes into space, and they're being returned to our world. It's my position that these space objects, these objects that are being spent, are time capsules, and they can have life forms placed on them. What I have here is along with that Roswell incident, there was supposedly an alien body found, and this was a picture that was released and circulated of a scientist supposedly over an alien body. As I look here too, the guy looked like it has horns on his head. That's crazy. It looked like it has horns on his head. But anyway, the amazing parts about the feature of these aliens is that they have these large heads, these bloated bellies, and no genitalia. My thing is, I'm going to go on why an alien would not have genitals. Okay, it makes sense to me. It makes plenty of sense, because if we in my mind, through my paranormal experience and encounter, it comes to me naturally and instinctively to know that in order to achieve effective time travel, you could not have genitals. You cannot have them, because through when you travel into the future, every time we leave our world, or anybody leaves their world, they travel either into the future or into the past. In my mind, leaving a world, you're traveling into a future. I don't care what world you leave from. You're leaving from your world, the present, to a current place, or to a place that is actually going to happen, or to events that are going to happen, and that is throughout space. So you're traveling into in space. So what happens then is that it accelerates everything. Okay, and meaning that where we have one day here, it might equal 20, 30, 500 years in space. So what happens is it causes for our body to speed up. And in that process, what is accelerated would be that of our body secretion process, meaning your urine and your and your other bodily fluids would actually be accelerated in a way where all you be doing is pissing and pooping throughout your journey, because it's accelerated. So what happens is that our ancestors, it's my position that these space travels are nothing more than time capsules, to where these living beings are sent off from their planet only to be returned in in a later time in that world's history. So let's just say that this is me, the scientist over top of this alien. I know that if I can send this guys on a successful space journey into space, deep space, like NASA is sending probes now, that one day my probe is going to return, and although I won't be here to witness it, and although there won't be our kind here to witness it, there will be somebody here to witness this. So, but I do know that through previous experiments that if I don't, this guy cannot have genitals, and this guy cannot have nothing secreting from his body, as it is time traveling. So therefore, what I do is I remove the genitals, and I run them back into the stomach area, to where the secretions are being cycled back into the body of this creature, which keeps the creature alive for maybe hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe millions of years, because this creature is running on itself. It becomes a self-contained engine within itself. So rather than this body now eating on itself, all it's doing is this fluid, this chemistry that I put into this creature, almost like like antifreeze in your car, or your car engine oil. Now the fluids that I put in there, like a baby infant, mind you, that where it doesn't sour, it does not go bad. The food that I put into this body does not get secreted out, but it just keeps running back over and over and over again in this bloated belly. An engine, a food engine. that keeps reusing the same food over and over and over again, and it nourishes the body and keeps the body alive. And this is why an alien would not have genitalia or genitals, if I'm saying genitals, if I'm saying that right. You see what I'm saying, people? So if in fact, and I believe that the Roswell incident now happened through my paranormal experience and encounter, which allowed me to decode why the incident happened and why it was covered up. If in fact there were alien bodies such as this, where there was no visible genitals, it's because our ancestors of Earth, whom sent that Roswell, that supposedly UFO, that time capsule into space, which returned to our world in 1940, they achieved packaging up bodies that where these bodies were able to live off of themselves, because the secretions were actually the food that kept cycling around into this body and kept them alive. It's my position that this is the only way that an alien form or an alien life form or any form of life could survive in space. It would have to survive off of itself in the way that I've just described. And this, people, actually identifies why there would not be genitals on a body, on any type of alien body, which we perceive as being in space, because it would be impossible for a being with outgoing secretions to survive in space. It would not be able to happen. In our world, yes, it could happen, but not outside of our world, because there would be an accelerated process of our body's digestive system which would make it impossible for survival of a living being in space. However, to overcome that fault, you would actually have to run the secretions, the body digestive system, through itself, and the secretion process back into itself with a food that would not sour, would not rot, with a chemistry, almost like I said, like a baby infant meal that would never go bad, and you just keep running it back over. The body would keep regurgitating, like a bird, regurgitating its food, not through its mouth, but through its stomach, back through the urinary tract. Imagine a urinary tract, and the and your anus and your anus canal, everything tied back into the stomach, to where your body, what it is actually surviving off of in the stomach, are tied into those two places, and it keeps feeding itself on the same food that is in its body that will not rot. And that's the reason why they would not have the genitalia. So what would happen in a reproductive state of being? It's my position that these beings packaged for time travel, space travel, would know what to do after, if they successfully made it to a planet or back to their planet. These creatures, through a contamination process, would know exactly what to do to unpackage themselves, to go through a mating ritual with the inhabitants of that world or through the creatures of that world. It is also my position that just as NASA found, or supposedly found, these creatures, NASA would know to go into the body and open these bodies up to cause for the mutations of these beings, or the packaged goods of NASA would know instinctively what to do, because they would come within with instructions in the vessel that they arrive back into their world with. Do you get the picture, people, of what I'm stating? I'm going to let this video go with that. I'm going to put a little bit more in writing. But it's my position that in space travel, it would be impossible for any being to have genitals. So it makes sense to me now why the idea of there being no genitals on an alien being or an ancestral being which achieved space flight, which would be for the reason that I just described, because those organs would be tied back into the stomach, and the secretion process of a body would be recycled back into the body to allow for achieved space travel to actually occur, or should I say time travel, because every time you leave your world, it is actually in a time, in a futuristic type sense. My name is Gerone Wright. I'm going to put more into the writing, and as I am delving more and more into this alien idea and this Roswell incident, people, I'm going to give you some of the best explanations that you can possibly perceive as coming, and they're unscientific, but the rationale behind what I'm stating is very logical. And I mean, and they're going to be the best ideas and the best, if you want to call them theories, that have come to date in all time. Thank you. My name is Gerone Wright, and thank you for viewing my channel. Capsules, and they can have life forms placed on them. What I have here is, this is along with that Roswell incident, there was supposedly an alien body found, and this was a picture that was released and circulated of a scientist supposedly over an alien body. As I look here too, you know, the guy looked like it has horns on his head. That's crazy. It looked like it has horns on his head. But anyway, the amazing parts about it is doing now, sending deep space probes into space, and they're being returned to our world. It's my position that these space objects, that are being spent, are time capsule. Was actually a time capsule. In 1940, found by the United States Air Force, was a time capsule, or a time machine, which was actually sent out the way NASA. Hello everybody, Gerone Wright here, and this is a second video that I'm releasing. The first video that I released was with regards to my finding with Roswell, stating that the object that is was found